So who are the 5 FPL plays that you absolutely must have for game week 1? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be going through in today's video, so make sure you guys do smash a like if you haven't already, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's get into it. So the first plays that I'm going to say you need for game week 1 is either Mohamed Salah or Erling Haaland. Now, I want to make something very, very clear. I'm not saying that you need to go for both of them in your team, because I do understand that when you go for both Haaland and Salah, your squad, you have to sacrifice a lot in your squad. So I don't actually think it's the best option to go with both of them. But what I do think you should do is at least go for one. I've seen a lot of people actually say that they're not going for either Salah or Haaland, and I think that's absolutely insanity. Of course, play your own FPL game. That's what everyone should do. But in my opinion, I would definitely recommend going for at least one of them, because I think going without either of them is, like I said, just absolute insanity. And I gotta give credit to those people. You guys do have a big pair of balls on you, I can say that for sure. But for me, the reason why I think you need either Mohamed Salah or Erling Haaland is because they both give you that reliable captaincy option. That's the main reason. That's where their value comes into play, and both have actually really good fixtures to start the season. Salah with Liverpool, they have some of the best fixtures to start the season, and the same goes for Manchester City. The first 4 games are really good, including that big game week 2 fixture against Ipswich at home. So for me, Haaland and Salah, one of the two, you need at least one of those two in your team, in my opinion. So now that I've said that you at least need one of these two players, you're probably wondering, well, who do I go for, Mohamed Salah or Erling Haaland? Now for me, I actually don't think there's a wrong or right answer, but what I will say is that I am slightly leaning towards Haaland, and that's because I've built a draft that I'm really happy with Haaland. Obviously, both players have great underlying data. Of course, Haaland does have the better underlying data, though. I'll make that very clear, and that's no surprise really, because technically speaking, Haaland is actually the best FPL asset in the game. The only problem is that the fact that he costs 15 million. So yeah, the underlying data for Erling Haaland is absolutely fantastic. We know that it's the best underlying data in the game, and we know that Haaland guarantees goals. But the underlying data for Salah is also really strong and really good, and it's very consistent with Salah. The underlying data for Salah over the Premier League years has been very good. So of course, that's why these two players are both premium options. Now, for me, like I said, I don't think there's a wrong or right answer between Salah and Haaland. Obviously, Haaland's at the price of 50 million compared to the price of 12.5 million that Salah is. So I guess, do you go for Salah and have and invest the 2.5 million elsewhere? That's totally up to you. I'm not really going to sit here and say you should definitely go for this player, because everyone's going to build a different team. Everyone has different ideas of who they want in their team, and for me, it just depends on what your whole team looks like. If you can build a strong team with Haaland, then go for it. If you can build a strong team with Salah and no Haaland, then go for it. Everyone has their own styles, and for me, I think both are great options. But like I said, I'm slightly leaning towards Erling Haaland, of course. And if you guys are wondering why I'm actually leaning towards Haaland, that's actually because of the emergence of Diogo Jota. He's been playing in that number 9 role in pre-season, and I do expect him to start the Premier League season playing in that number 9 role. So if he can actually play well in the Premier League, then you'd assume that he will continue to start games in that number 9 position. So that's why I do like Haaland, because I feel like the combination of going for Haaland and then Diogo Jota to cover that Liverpool attack works really well. So that's the reason why I'm currently leaning towards Haaland. But yeah, let me know down below, who are you guys going for? Are you going for Haaland only? Are you going for Salah only? Are you going for both? Or are you just one of those absolutely crazy people who are going for neither of those two players? Let me know down below in the comments. So for the next player, we do have Alexander Isak, guys, and he is coming in at the price of 8.5 million. And I'm not gonna lie, man, if you do not have this player in your FPL team, what on earth are you doing? Guys, I think he is absolutely essential. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I really do. I think 8.5 million is absolutely great value for a player like Alexander Isak, and the fixtures for Newcastle to start the season are really good. We know how strong Newcastle are at home, and in the first game they've got Southampton at home. That's a game where they could probably win like 5-0, and you can see Isak getting like 2 goals, maybe 1 assist as well. But after Southampton, it's Bournemouth away, and then after that it's Spurs at home, and then Wolves and Fulham away from home. I think the fixtures to start the season are really good, and Isak showed that he's a prolific goal scorer. Okay, last season he got 21 goals in just 27 starts. That's a fantastic return, and like I said, I really do like Newcastle from an attacking point of view, especially when they play at home. I really do expect them to score a lot of goals, especially in the first 3 games. So yeah, I think Isak is a great option, and to be fair, I think a lot of people in the FPL community do know this. All right, he is owned at a whopping 56.5% at the time of recording, and I do believe that is actually the high that does make him the highest owned player in FPL. So yeah, a lot of people do have Isak, and I can understand why. And another thing that I do love about Alexander Isak is the underlying data is really strong. As you guys can see, he's got 0.8 expected goals per 90, which is really high. And why that is so good for someone like Isak is because he's actually reliable in front of goal. When he's in front of goal, you actually expect him to finish off the chances he gets. Unlike someone like Darwin Nunez, for example, all right, he has fantastic underlying data. He gets into great goal scoring positions, but he simply cannot finish his dinner. Whereas that's completely different with Alexander Isak. All right, he can finish his dinner. He is clinical in front of goal, and that's what makes him such a great option in my opinion. So yeah, in my opinion, guys, if you aren't going with Alexander Isak in your Game Week 1 squad, what on earth are you doing? But anyway, let's move on into the next player. So for the next player, we do have Trent Alexander-Arnold, guys. And quickly before I do speak about Trent, I just want to let you guys know the next couple of players will be much cheaper options. All right, I don't want to just put in expensive players because everyone knows that we should have the likes of Saka, Son, Palmer, Trent, Saliba, Gvardiol, but it's very easy to do that, but we all know we can't put them in a team. So I've got a couple of cheap options after Trent Alexander-Arnold, midfielders and attackers under the price of 6.5 million. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know. So we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold here in the price of 7 million, and he's a premium defender, and he's a premium defender for a reason. Okay, Liverpool have fantastic fixtures to start the season. That's the first thing I want to say. The fixtures for Liverpool are some of the best to start the season, and Trent is a player that we know can get goals and assists. He's proven that over the years. All right, a very attacking fullback, in fact a world-class attacking fullback. And some people may argue, some people may question whether Trent can continue to get those goals and assists under a new system with Onslaught. But for me, I've been watching them in pre-season, and it does look very good for Liverpool. It does look good for their fullbacks. They're still getting very high up the pitch. They're still putting crosses into the box. I mean, in the last pre-season game, we saw Trent get an assist to Diogo Jota. So I do trust Trent to get those attacking returns in the first 6 or 7 games because the fixtures are really good. We expect Liverpool to dominate possession. We expect Liverpool to dominate the ball, and with that comes even more attacking threat for Liverpool and more attacking threat for Trent Alexander-Arnold. The more possession they have, the more crosses into the box he'll get, the more shots on goal he'll get. So I really do trust Trent to get me those attacking returns, and he's in my Game Week 1 team, and he's someone that I feel like I just can't go without because he's proven over the years how good he is going forward. And like I said, regardless if they're under a new manager, under a new system or not, I just still think Trent can get those attacking returns. So that's why I've gone for him. I do think he's such a good option, and surprisingly I actually think he's pretty low owned. I mean, at the time of recording, he's only 25.4% owned, and I actually do think that's really low for someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold. So that does surprise me. Obviously, last season, his goals and assist tally wasn't as high as it usually is because he was going through a lot of injuries last season, but providing he can stay fit, I think he'll be a great option. So I really do recommend you guys go for Trent Alexander-Arnold in your Game Week 1 squads. So next up, we've got Rodrigo Muniz, and guys, I think he is a fantastic option to start the Premier League season with. In my opinion, the fixtures are really good for Fulham. Okay, yes, I know it's a tough game against Manchester United away from home in Game Week 1, but to be fair, it's a game where he still can score in, but obviously it's not the best of fixtures. But regardless, after that, the fixtures are really good for Rodrigo Muniz. It's Leicester at home, a newly promoted Championship side who are in pre-season showing a lot of defensive weaknesses and frailties. So I think Fulham can, really score big against Leicester. I think they're going to be one of the weakest sides in the Premier League this season. So that's a great fixture there in Game Week 2. And in Game Week 3, it's away to Ipswich. In Game Weeks 4 and 5, it's a home to West Ham and Newcastle. And even in Game Week 6, it's away to Nottingham Forest. I think Muniz is a great just sort of set and forget option all the way up until Game Week 6. So yeah, that's why I really do like Muniz. And we saw last season, all right, when he actually started games, he performed really well, and he got into really good goal scoring form. So that's why I do like Rodrigo Muniz. And yes, towards the very last bit of the Premier League season, he did kind of drop off a little bit, but nonetheless, for the price of 6 million, I think he's a great option. And another reason is because at that 6 million price point between midfielders and forwards, I don't think there's a lot of players to choose from. I mean, at 6 million you've got Chris Wood, but other than that, I'm not really liking the options that I'm seeing. So I think for that price point at 6 million, Rodrigo Muniz is a really good option. And as well, the underlying data for Rodrigo Muniz is also pretty strong, as you guys can see. 0.48 expected goals per 90, which is really good for a 6 million forward. And of course, his assist threat isn't that high, but we're not really putting him in for the assists. We're putting him in for him to score goals. And yeah, last season it was 9 goals in 18 starts, which is, again, in my opinion, a really good return, and 5 FPL points per start as well last season, which is, again, a solid return. So I'm really keen on Rodrigo Muniz. Yes, I know there is Chris Wood at the price of 6 million, and he was close to making this list, but the reason why I think Muniz just slightly edges it is because I feel like Wood has a lot of a higher chance of getting subbed off earlier in matches. Because of Awiniyi, I just kind of want to stay away from Chris Wood, because I could see situations where Chris Wood gets subbed off 65 minutes in or 60 minutes in for Awiniyi. So that's the only reason why I've gone for Muniz. And I know Chris Wood will start games, but yeah, I just don't like the risk of getting subbed off early. So that's why I've gone for Muniz. And yeah, both nonetheless are good options. Don't get me wrong, I do think Chris Wood is a good option, but I just slightly prefer Rodrigo Muniz. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments though. Who do you prefer, Rodrigo Muniz or Chris Wood for a 6 million FPL forward? So for the next player, we do have Christopher Nkunku, and some people within the FPL community have touted this guy to be an absolute game breaker at the price of 6.5 million. And I'm not gonna lie, to be fair, he could just do exactly that. I think sometimes we forget how good Nkunku is, and because last season he didn't play much due to his injuries, we forget how good of an option he is at 6.5 million. This is a really good proven player within the top level of football. Okay, in the Bundesliga he did really well. He's someone that can give you goals, he's someone that can give you assists. He's played at the highest level in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League, and as you guys can see, these stats, by the way, on screen are from his last season at RB Leipzig. Alright, and these are some really good stats. 16 goals in 25 games, 16 goals and 4 assists in 25 games, and also the underlying data is really good. As you guys can see, 16.29 expected goals per 90 and 4.90 expected assists per 90. And yes, some people will say, well, this is in the Bundesliga, this is in an easier league, but even at times when Nkunku came on as a substitute for Chelsea in the Premier League last season, he actually did very well, and he actually did score some goals. So I think yeah, he's a really good option. And last season in the Premier League, he scored 3 goals in only 2 starts. So yeah, I actually really do think Nkunku's a great option. And the fixtures for Chelsea to start the season are really good as well. As you guys can see, yes, it's a tough fixture in game week 1 against Man City, but it's more of a long-term pick. All right, we're not really thinking short-term here, we're thinking long-term. And after that City game, the fixtures are really good. It's Wolves away, Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home. Like, guys, the fixtures are really good, and I think for that run from game week 2 all the way until game week 7 is a run where you would definitely want to have someone like Nkunku in your team. So for me, I think he's a great option. And again, some people may argue that, you know, Chelsea haven't been really playing good under Enzo Maresca. All right, their preseason has been pretty poor, but what I will say is, yes, they've been poor in preseason, but that's mostly from a defensive point of view. They've conceded a lot of goals, but they still scored quite a few goals as well. So I do expect Chelsea to score against these easier teams that they do play in the Premier League, and I do expect Christopher Nkunku to be at the heart of it. I think he will link up well with players like Cole Palmer, and Pedro Neto as well, who Chelsea have just recently signed. So I think Nkunku at 6.5 million could be a really good option, and I wouldn't really be too worried about Chelsea's poor form, because I think against the easier sides in the Premier League, they will score goals, and like I said, they've shown that in pre-season. So I think Christopher Nkunku is a really good option, and he's got a relatively high ownership. I think 17.3% ownership is quite high. It could be higher though. He's actually not currently in my team, and I do plan to bring him in game week 3. I'm not going to have him for the first 2, but in game week 3, that's when I do plan to bring in Christopher Nkunku. So yeah, I think he's a great option, and I would definitely recommend putting Nkunku in your game week 1 squads. So that's going to be it for for today's video, guys. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to smash a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We are so close to reaching 1,000 subscribers. And also, I literally just uploaded my FPL Game Week 1 team selection video, okay? So make sure you guys do check it out if you want to see my final team for Game Week 1. But also, make sure to tune in to my deadline stream that I'm going to be doing on Friday at around 5 p.m. Alright, but I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to smash a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, guys, I will see you in the next deadline stream. But until then, I'm out. Peace.